morning, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back to the 38th Annual General Meeting Conference by Pakistan Society of Development Economists. I'm Aisha Tariq.
And I'm Mohammad Mohsin. We are honored to be your hosts for today's first panel session titled Unlocking Pakistan Digital Potential, the Next 10 Years.
To moderate this session, we are delighted to introduce our moderator, Mr. Asim Saeed, former member of Ministry of Planning, Development and Special Initiatives.
Mr. Asim Saeed brings a wealth of experience in policy planning and digital governance, making him the perfect person to lead this discussion.
Please join us in welcoming
Mr. Asim Saeed.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, PIDE, for inviting me for this very appropriate and important session on unlocking digital potential for Pakistan for the next 10 years. Let me start by introducing and inviting our panelists. We have a very distinguished group of people here on our panel today, and it's also a very well-balanced panel which represents people from the private sector, there is donor representation, and then there are policymakers as well. So let me start by inviting Mr. Saleem Ullah. He's the Deputy Governor, Finance, Inclusion and Innovation, State Bank of Pakistan. As the Deputy Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan, Mr. Saleem Ullah oversees 5 key groups: digital financial services, financial inclusion, IT, human resource and services, finance and risk management. His prior roles include Executive Director of Financial Resource Management and Director positions in agricultural credit, development finance, Islamic banking, and microfinance. Notably, he led the digitization of FBI tax collections and provincial receipts, significantly enhancing efficiency and taxpayer convenience. He also developed the Islamic version of the Naya Pakistan certificates, integrating Sharia-compliant investment options. Welcome, sir. Thank you. Second panelist is Dr. Najibullah Marwat. Dr. Najib is member of Science and Technology and ICT Planning Commission of Pakistan. Dr. Marwat is a distinguished scientist and policy maker serving as member Planning Commission of Pakistan. He has led significant initiatives in Pakistan, including establishing the US-Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Energy with US aid funding and founding the University of Engineering and Applied Sciences in Swat. Dr. Marwat focuses on fostering innovation, enhancing research quality, and promoting technology transfer to advance Pakistan's science and technology sectors. Welcome, Najibullah. My next guest and panelist is Ms. Emma Fan. Ms. Emma Fan is Country Director of Pakistan Asian Development Bank. Ms. Fan serves as the Country Director of ADB. With over 2 decades at ADB, she has held various leadership positions, including Director of the Public Management, Financial Sector, and Regional Cooperation Division in the East Asia Department, and Regional Director of ADB's Pacific Liaison and Coordination Office in Sydney. Her extensive experience encompasses public sector management, financial sector development, and regional cooperation initiatives. In her current role, Ms. Fan oversees Pakistan's ADB's operations, focusing on implementing the country partnership strategy aimed at enhancing economic growth, resilience, and competitiveness. My next guest and panelist is Dr. Babar Majid Bhatti Saab. He is the Chief Executive Officer of National Information Technology Board. Dr. Bhatti is the Chief Executive, as I've mentioned, and he leads initiatives to modernize public sector digital infrastructure. Under his leadership, NITB launched the Digital Dialogue Platform, fostering collaboration between government and technology stakeholders. Dr. Bhatti has also emphasized the importance of celebrating women's achievements in technology, notably during International Women's Day 2025. Dr. Bhatti is also the co-author of the book Spies in the Bits and Bytes, The Art of Cyber Threat Intelligence, reflecting his expertise in cyber threat analysis. Welcome, sir. My next guest and panelist is Ms. Fatima Akhtar. Ms. Fatima Akhtar serves as the Head of Communication and Sustainability at Jazz Pakistan. In her role, she leads strategic initiatives aimed at bridging the mobile gender gap and promoting digital inclusion. Under her leadership, Jazz has partnered with GSMA Connected Women Commitment to connect more women to mobile internet services in Pakistan. She has also represented Jazz at international platforms, including MWC Barcelona 2024, highlighting the company's commitment to digital equity. Ms. Akhtar combines her academic background with extensive experience in communication, sustainability, and policy advocacy to drive impactful change in Pakistan's digital landscape. Welcome, madam. And finally, my last guest is Mr. Asim Ghaffar. He is Vice President, Engineering, 10 Pearls. So Mr. Ghaffar is the Vice President of Engineering at 10 Pearls, a global digital transformation company. Prior to his current role, Mr. Ghaffar co-founded Easy Fresh Technologies, focusing on B2B fresh product supply chains, and served as Vice President of Engineering and Innovation at Cityscape Real Estate Limited. His career also includes significant positions at Zameen.com, LMKR, where he was instrumental in product development and team growth. He is also he's a founding member at Alexis and has contributed to initiatives like the AI Summit 2024, where he spoke on demystifying generative AI. His commitment to technological innovation continues to drive impactful solutions in the digital landscape. Welcome, Asim Saab, and welcome everyone. Before I begin, there's some house rules I would like to share with the panelists and with the August audience here. So we will have 2 rounds of discussion. In the first round, I will give 7 minutes to each panelist, and I'll ask some questions. And we'll go across, going from one side to the other, asking questions to each panelist, 7 minutes each. In the second round, once everyone has heard everyone's views, we'll have another second round for about 4 minutes. So in total, 11 minutes for each panelist. After that, we will open the floor for Q&A before we actually conclude the session. So let me just set the stage here a bit. I was just looking at some of the numbers here of the global IT export. They are astronomical when we come to the global IT export numbers. Some of the numbers and estimates were north of $4 trillion as of last year. I was also looking at some of the numbers of our regional competitors and also Pakistan, and let me share those numbers with you. So Pakistan's software IT exports were around 3.2 billion from an export base of around 30 billion. This is circa less than 1% of our GDP. Now let me give some comparison with some of our competitors here. India's IT export is 210 billion. Bangladesh is 1.5 billion. Egypt is 6.2 billion. Vietnam is 3.5 billion, but this probably is a little underreported here. But it has an export base of more than $4 billion. Philippines is $38 billion with an export base of $116 billion. Now, we have talked about URAAN here. IT is one of the sectors which was categorized as a strategic sector in the SIFC as well. It's one of the 5 E's in URAAN, Pakistan. And the government of Pakistan has laid a lot of emphasis on this sector. It has been growing at more than 20%, circa 20% for the last year or so. I think this year the growth is expected to be around 15%. So if I do back of the envelope calculation here, so if I increase, URAAN Pakistan is a 5-year plan till 2029, and let's say I take 15% annualized growth rate for the next 5 years, we will be just north of $6 billion by the end of 2029. And if I just take the IT export percentage of GDP, which is 0.8% right now, and URAAN Pakistan aspires to be $1 trillion economy for Pakistan to 2035, this is only around $8 billion. At least from my perspective, this is probably less than ideal. So the question, obvious question which comes to my mind as a non-technical person is what's wrong? What's going on here? I mean, we have heard from Minister Saab and other eminent speakers here. There is a lot of potential and there is a framework here, and we have heard a lot of good things. But we really need to understand what really is wrong and what's going on here and what we need to set right in the next 12 to 18 months to actually make use of URAAN Pakistan as a framework to leapfrog this growth. So let me perhaps start with the private sector first. Asim, my namesake, I'll start with you first. So I guess just taking cue from what I have shared with you. So what are the barriers to our growth here in this sector, and what do we need to do in the next 12 to 18 months? And what, in your opinion, you have been in the startup space, what are the key areas of investment and sectors where digital transformation can really drive the export-led growth and competitiveness?
Yeah, so I will try to answer this from three perspectives. One, of course, from the IT exports point of view, that's my day job is. And of course, previously I have run venture-based startup, so there are certain ideas from that. And before that, since I was leading Code for Pakistan, so some ideas from that, like from digital society, that perspective as well. And if we are talking about barriers, we need to be mindful that there are some barriers which are impeding the short-term growth, and then there are others which are for long-term growth. So I will try to keep it brief, like one or two for each of them. I think for the short-term growth, the most fundamental one that I think is the access to talent issue. And contrary to what generally people who are generally talking about access to talent, they say things like that, oh, we want to work on, let's say, Java or Microsoft Dynamics or something like that, and the university students are not good enough for that. So I don't necessarily agree with that type of thing. But so when I say access to talent issue, the pace of innovation or the rate of change of innovation is changing very, very fast. So even if we train people on something today, it will be redundant in 6 months or so. The real challenge at that level is that how we can come up with a workforce that can like pick the right tool for the right job and those type of things, like people who are really good with problem solving, analytical skills. So if we want to like leapfrog, we need those type of people in that. And I think the fundamental institution that need to fix that is definitely HEC. So and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the curriculum that we have. The curriculum is aligned with the international bodies like ACM, which is similar to what IEEE is for the electronics. But how we execute that curriculum, like in universities, like are we instilling those type of skills which can make people more creative thinker, innovator, risk taker, and so on? Or we are trying to find just some shortcuts where, okay, if you are earning from digital marketing or something else, it's good. Don't worry, don't spend too much time thinking about more higher value things like that. So don't disrespect to other skills, but if we want researchers, innovation and all that, we at university level, the university should not just be listening to industry or other stakeholder. They just have one job, producing graduates that are really, really good, that can, again, as I said, pick the right tool for the right job. So that's, I think, in short of them, that's the impediment. Many companies, they are not able to scale beyond certain level because they are not able to find, they have orders where they need, let's say, 100 more people to work on something, but they can't find the right people at the right time. So I think that's something that I see as a shorter term or to mid-term thing that we can easily fix it. And how to fix it, I think in the later questions I can answer that. But bringing transparency to the process, all those things which are very tried and tested methods across the industry, they can help. We don't need to do any rocket science there. The second thing I think which is short term to even longer term is the infrastructure. So of course in the infrastructure there are some shorter term things. These like blanket disruptions to internet and VPNs and all that thing, I think we need to be just consistent about it. I understand that there are some national security priorities and we need to be mindful for that, but at the end of the day the message should be that we have something which is consistent policy where we are taking into account all the stakeholders, including exporters and other stakeholders, and that is because that just doesn't disrupt export, it also disrupt, let's say, e-commerce, internal e-commerce. And if we are hoping to have export
e-commerce which is export driven eventually, then we need that type of infrastructure for them. On the longer horizon, I think we need to adopt 5G as soon as we can. There are other, I think the core infra is, as far as I know, is still dependent on 2 companies. We need to have more so that if 1 or 2 sharks bite something, the whole internet don't go away. So we need to bring more resiliency to infra as well. Right now, I think we are ranked pretty low in the internet speed, mobile speed, all those. I think in the top 20 or top 30%. If we want to be a top 25 economy, we need to be a top 25 in at least in those type of infra. Then again, they have benchmarks. We need to see how we can do better in those benchmarks. I think in the very long term, and I think that I will answer more from the startup ecosystem point. Lot of good startups are coming out of Pakistan. I think Kareem has some solid base in Pakistan. Zameen is another example, and so many others. Keep Truckin, which is now Motive. They have their whole AI team is in Pakistan. But the common thing about all these startups is that none of them has the holding company in Pakistan. So even if they will become a unicorn, it will never be a Pakistani unicorn. So if this means that a lot of the wealth that will be generated will not ever be housed in Pakistan. How to fix that? Right now, there are like 4 or 5 cities in the world where the investors, the VCs, they prefer the company to have the whole code: London, Delaware, Singapore, and Dubai, and Amsterdam, and a couple of more. Can we come up with a city in Pakistan that can have its own rules, like something like what Singapore become in that region? Something not completely like that, something which is still part of Pakistan, but has a totally different tax to all these type of regime, where investors are comfortable in having holdco, which can have, so something which is a in-between thing between Singapore and let's say the STGs we are doing. So maybe Gwadar can be that, or some other city. But that's a very long-term plan, but we need to be thinking about it, how to do it, from security to investment friendliness to tourist friendliness and all those things. So I think, because if the barrier is that our regulations are not as friendly as London or as Dubai, we probably can't change it because we need those type of protection for other things that we are doing. But maybe there is a way where we can use something at a local city level and make it more like an international city within Pakistan, and then do these type of things. So I think these are a few things that I can think of. There are others as well. There's always this question that why we have companies that have like 50 million, 100 million, $200 million export, but not 1 billion, 10 billion, 5 billion like India and other. There are many challenges around that. Some of them are common, like access to talent and others, but then there are others. Do we think about merger and acquisitions at that level, that maybe to grow we need to acquire? Do we have friendly policies to acquire companies in other smaller countries? Do we have fund to match innovation? Do we have other policies that people stop sharing, showing their profits outside, and so many other things. So, but yeah, I think I will stop here and let others speak.
All right. No, thank you, Asim. So, access, good quality talent, infrastructure, 5G adoption, holding company structures, some of the points that have percolated, that I've noted here. I'll move on to Ms. Fatima, and Madam, I'll repeat the same questions because I want the questions to be consistent across the private sector panelists so that policymakers can try to respond accordingly. So, Madam, the same questions: what are the barriers? Sure. And also, what are the investment areas of investment for export-led growth?
Sure, thank you. I would like to begin by just recognizing that any trillion-dollar economy ambition that the government of Pakistan has is the first time that I've seen that it's rooted in digital transformation. And I think this is the first step. Before we talk about barriers, I think it's important to recognize what's the value proposition of going digital. Technology leads to trust and transparency. And I think that the biggest value proposition, if I talk from a citizen to government sort of intersection, it really reduces the friction. And I think this has really been the ambition that we as a company want to do. We live by a purpose which is across our organization, where we talk about we want to improve the lives and livelihoods of the people of Pakistan through technology. And there's a huge value proposition there, because when technology leads to empowerment, technology leads to enablement. If I talk about some of the barriers that you sort of touched upon, I know Asim talked about them, but I think the biggest barrier is we need to stop taxing access. We need to start taxing value that is created. And I think this is where the biggest roadblock happens. Countries which have really recognized the potential of digital technologies, they have really made that shift. So whether it's through a taxation reform program, we need to realize, I mean, telecom, if I speak about the sector that I'm from, it has one of the highest, it has close to 34.5% taxation rates. I mean, if digital technologies is really an ambition where we want to, across the country, make it accessible and affordable, then this is a starting point which we really need to sort of do. What we have seen as a company is, I mean, Jazz was started off as a monolithic telecom player, and today it has become this diversified service co, which we call. And we did this in Pakistan. So I think this is a great use case, that there is a lot of potential here, and we as a successful company, I mean, how we've diversified into cloud, into fintech, I think this is really a use case for everybody in this country. If I talk about sort of what is required now to kind of overcome some of these challenges, I would say is to recognize that banking, broadband, and sort of business ecosystems, these are really the solutions that we need to sort of focus on. We talk about how everybody should have access to a smartphone, and everybody should have access to, at the very least, a wallet, you know, for the kind of transactions that our mobile wallet, which is Jazz Cash, I mean, that's GDP-led sort of almost, I mean, I don't want to say the exact figure, but it's approximately, it's GDP-led sort of level growth that we're seeing. So there's a huge proliferation of financial and digital inclusion. But we cannot be limited in who we target this to. I know you spoke about 5G, and yes, I think that as a country, the 5G is definitely the next level of unlocking digital transformation. But right now, we're also challenged in providing basic 4G to most of the country, right? So it's about infrastructure which needs to be provided. At the same time, it's about affordability of handset. Our smartphone handset penetration is one of the lowest in the world. And even worse is that our women don't have access to that. There's this concept which we talk about in our sector of gatekeeping. And unless we do not ensure that 50% of our population, which is women, they have equal and equitable access to technology, any digital transformation ambition will not be realized. We can sit and have these panel discussions, but they will not bear any fruit. So it's important to really, when we talk about human capital, we need to really root digital upskilling in that, and especially for women. I mean, the kind of impact that investing in women has at a country level, we've recently seen that in countries like Saudi, where they've over-indexed their support to women. So digital and financial inclusion really in their true form really are the key enablers for any kind of sort of transformation. I know there's a lot of conversation around DPI, which is digital public infrastructure. I mean, we've seen a lot of countries make that transition, the sort of unified identity model. I think those are great. The kind of interoperability we can have between our institutions, I think that is, with privacy really being ensured, I think that is really sort of something a country like Pakistan can benefit from.
Okay, all right.
So yeah.
No, this is great, Fatma, and also talking of the digital divide here, I think our literacy rate is 62%,
Yes.
and sometimes I wonder, what about the remaining 40%? And if I just take this 40%, with 250 million population, this is circa 100 million.
Yeah.
So that means, just standing by alone by itself, this is the 17th largest population in the world. Ahead of Iran, below Vietnam, this 40%.
Yeah,
so how do we, but we will come to this perhaps in the discussion. I always think of this, that they can't read or write. How do we get them onto this digital wagon? We don't want them to be left behind.
But I would also encourage us to, from literacy, also start focusing on digital literacy. The value proposition may be easier in some cases for us to enable digital literacy versus literacy in itself, but digital literacy also.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Okay, so Babar Sahab, so the same questions, but I'll just give you a curveball here. I think in addition to this, given your your area and where you are as the CEO of NITB, perhaps you can also enlighten us what are the essential reforms which may be needed to building a robust digital public infrastructure.
Thank you, Asim sir. I'll try to be brief here, but the question actually talks about a complex thing, so it needs to be, dissected layer by layer. First of all, my journey, I will tell you of which lens I provide. Over the past two and a half decades, around 25 years, I worked in the international market, almost all the troubled markets as well as the Western world, like North America, Middle East, Europe, Africa, Pacific, Far East, Oceania, and then I came to Pakistan a couple of years ago. So what I've observed, actually, I think we need to look at the lens from an external perspective as well as an internal perspective as well. So to answer the question, first of all, the barriers, I will say even before that, let's look at the direction. Are we talking about the right direction, digitalization, when we look at the economic growth and when we talk about these constraints? So the first thing is, if you look at the fastest emerging economies in the world, there's a very strong correlation between their economic growth and the pace of their digitalization. So that does justify the case of digitalization. We are looking at the right thing at the right direction. And now, how effective are we looking at it, and where do we stand? Okay. First of all those years when I was working in the international market, I hired people from almost like more than 65 nations. That includes the US, that includes Canada, that includes Australia, but that also includes Pakistani people, that also includes people from India. So just to compare the enablers, the people that we have. So my experience with the people which I brought from Pakistan generally, I mean I can't generalize of course, but generally has been superb. They've delivered excellent, they've delivered up to the mark. So what does this tell is what we're producing as a talent, as people, whatever the curriculum, if it is covering or not, but the people, those who are bringing to the international market, they are delivering to the mark. So I would like to congratulate the universities, the institutions, the markets here who are producing those talents, and they are actually making the difference in the world. So that actually means the problem does not lie here, right? Okay, so we are producing excellent talent. Now, the second thing that we look at is, when we talk about the internal perspective, like the direction is right, let's look at the digitalization. Where do we stand? As you very rightly mentioned, $2.1 billion is where we stand today. Okay, let's go back 10 years. Where were we? I think it was around like $250 million in 2013, which was, I mean, there's no authentic report which I could get access to, but this is a ballpark what we can see from various reports. So from $250 million US to, let's say, $3.1 billion where we stand today. So this is a good growth if we look at it from our lens, from a local lens as only. But if we look at what the rest of the world has done in the past 10 years, that's manifolds. So, and especially the digitalization sector that we talk about, that means they've done leaps and bounds while we have not. So that is where we need to talk about the barriers. So what is restraining our growth here? We talked about the people. That is one capacity factor. I can correlate one incident I will tell you. I was in a meeting and we were looking at the demand side. We have sufficient demand to export our talent and export our services when we talk about the recent, at least the past 24 months, what I have spent here. So, for example, we've signed MOUs with Saudi Arabia, we've signed, some contracts and demand. We went to them, we said, I mean, you're giving businesses to the rest of the countries, why not to us as well? They welcomed us, and now we do have a demand. But now when we sit here and we see how do we make the supply happen, how do we fulfill that demand? So first of all, we were sitting in a meeting and we were putting our heads around and like, okay. And my question was, I need to see one of the areas I work in is cybersecurity and AI. So I want to see how many people are there in IDAM, Identity and Access Management, one area in cybersecurity. So how many people do we have here? What are the business that we have here who are specialized in it? The answer is, I was told, Mr. Baba, what are you talking about? We don't know, and no one else knows. What is the skill set? What is our capacity, especially in one niche area? Who can tell you? I said, no, I'm surprised. And say, no, no one has this. I said, don't say that. For example, I'll give you an example of Australia. I'll give you an example of Canada. You go to their website, immigration portal, and you will see this is the exact number of visas in cybersecurity. This is what they need. So there we know our demand, there we know our supply, there we know our gap, and we have a strategy to fill that gap. Right? So a holistic strategy to look at that. So this is one of the things I will say, that you can't manage something if you can't control it. And you can't control something if you cannot measure it. So the first step actually is to fill and know those gaps that we need to look at it. For example, there are a good directional initiatives that we have done, and I will say we are moving in the right direction, but the journey is long. But when we have to optimize, if you have to, like you asked about unicorns, so if you have to grow large crystals, you have to provide them an enabling environment as well. You have to let them grow, and then you have to customize the environment around it. That is how the unicorns are grown. Right? So that is what Fatima was talking about, Asim was talking about as well. So what we need to do is we need to actually focus on those niche areas and then do the growth. Okay, one of the gaps, I will give you an example as well. One of the enabling environments, if you look at the Western world, and if you look at not only the Western world, they are not doing very good when you talk about, everyone is facing trouble. UK, if you look at them, so they shot themselves in their foot when they went for Brexit, and they're struggling with it. So everyone does mistakes. But I'm sorry, Mohammed said. So, but the thing is, so everyone does that. But the thing is, when we need to look at the global opportunities, one of the things that we need to do is be very vigilant. I'll just wind up in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we need to look at is look at what's happening in the world. When the Trump administration has moved into the White House, the whole world is reshuffling. Everyone is talking about different alliances. Everyone is talking about different investment trends. Now, this is a golden opportunity for us. When we shape our economic policies and our growth policies and our digitalization, we need to factor in how can we redo our alliances. One of the weak areas that we have is the alliances that blocks us from export of a software sector. So we need to redo those alliances and see where we can, for example, so many countries in Europe are now shaking up their economy. They're putting down dollars. So we need to see how we can put alliances with them and grow the businesses.
No.
So
No, thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. Concerning with respect to enabling environment, perhaps in the second round, I will request you to be a little more specific for my guests here, because I do want the policymakers and my friends from the government to respond to the private sector, so that we can have a constructive outcome from this panel discussion. Ms. Emma, the World Bank and ADB, they have been our partners in the development journey. From the ADB's perspective, I guess the question becomes that how can the ADB country partnership framework, which is very important for Pakistan, can be leveraged to support the nation's digital transformation?
Thank you very much. That's a great question. It's one of the questions we ourselves are trying to search for an answer as well. I think in terms of leveraging our country partnership strategy, which is currently in the making, then the first thing is diagnostics. What are the key barriers really preventing Pakistan from fulfilling its potential, including its digital potential? So as you have outlined, there are various data that shows there are numerous constraints. The first one is the backbone infrastructure. And but again, data tells us that fiber optic penetration rate is still extremely low, and the global average is about 40%. The number we have for Pakistan is about 1%. So the differences are stark, and this kind of major infrastructure gaps cannot be fulfilled by individuals and companies easily. They require public sector intervention. And for people who are utilizing the digital services, we clearly observe that people with faster internet connection use it more than those who are struggling. So the backbone, foundational infrastructure needs to be looked at. That's really not business mission accomplished for now. And during our country partnership strategy conversations, as well as our annual programming exercises, we are actually searching for ideas. Where can we bring value for money and fit for purpose infrastructure development? Finance is scarce and difficult to secure, but great ideas are even rare. So if we can really matching investment finance to where it strikes most and where it generates highest value, we can help the country to transform in that digital journey. The second one is really on the last mile connection. If we can address some of the major infrastructure constraints, how can we broaden the applications in the areas of health, education, and so many innovations are taking place, especially given that the larger rural-urban divide exists in Pakistan. This is the kind of hope we have to bring the underserviced population into the development journey. So in this connection, of course, the revenue mobilization and generations are huge foundational development piece. So we are working with FBR in a 125 million project to improve digital tax administration. I think we are trying to push for application in the education, health, different sectors, especially in the rural areas. And then the third area is really about financing. This is not just a public sector space and solution. We see how dynamic the private sector is, and they are leading the development. So really, how do we enable the private sector by modernize the regulations, by really streamline different requirements, so unshackle the private sector development is a necessity in this space. I think finally I want to mention that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are many great things happening in the world. And one thing is India's BharatNet program is talked about frequently. And that's trying to connect 640,000 villages to internet. And it's going on for nearly 20 years. Certain things, there are no quick solutions. We must find the direction and stick to it. The perseverance is very important. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Ms. Emma, thank you very much. Very appropriate and pertinent points. Backbone infrastructure, fiber optics, last mile, the use of digital applications, access to finance, and more importantly, having stable, continuous policy continuity for the private sector, which I think our earlier panelists and the Honorable Minister also talked and stressed upon. Moving on to Member Planning Commission, Science and Technology and IT, Marwat Saab. As a policy maker, what, in your opinion, what regulatory shifts are needed to build a secure, investor-friendly digital economy? And also, I think, how do we tackle this trust deficit from the perspective of cybersecurity and e-government challenges?
Well, thank you. I think the most important thing for all of us is, and for the government actually, we know basically that what digital economy means. Sometimes we take one component and miss the other one. So for us, when we say digital economy, there are three core components. The first one is the core, that's the infrastructure. The second one is the narrow scope, which is the services. And the third one, which is still the missing part, harsh reality in Pakistan, that's the Industry 4.0, that's basically automation, that's the precision engineering, and that's basically the e-commerce. So I think the first important thing is when we say digital economy, we are talking about the three spectrum. The second important thing is for any, I think, progress, it's not bit and pieces. We have to take the whole ecosystem. And in the URAAN Pakistan, for e-Pakistan, the digital Pakistan, we have taken 5 components. That's not my framework, that's MIT framework. And the 5 components are the government, the industry, the academia, then basically it's the risk capital, the banking side, and then the entrepreneurship. And I would like to talk about all of the 5 components, because in the whole value chain, if you miss one part, there is valley of death. And that's unfortunately, that has been done so many times in Pakistan, that the whole value chain was not taken care, it was all fragmented. So coming toward the first one, that's basically the government responsibility. And in the government, I think with this digital transformation, the first one is the governance, the data governance. The data which we have, there are 2 major issues, the sharing issues and the interoperability issues. And if these are not well aligned, we are nowhere regarding the data fabrics. So that's basically one of the key things which we are taking care. The second one is basically the data privacy and security. In this digital innovation, and especially for the financial services, for the e-government, unless and until this part, like as it has been done in the Europe, the GDPR system, unless and until we have this system, I mean, we can't talk about the financial services and the e-government. The third and the last one, that's basically the quality and the data collection. Harsh reality again, we don't have a very robust mechanism for the data collection and the quality. Sometimes we get the data which is outdated. And that's the key reason that it cannot be used for the policy making. So what now we have done actually, rather than to highlight the issues, there is a project called DEEP with the World Bank, and all of the 3 components have been taken care, and they are making a central sort of authority for the data. That's one part. The second part is the infrastructure, because with this AI intervention and change, unless and until we have the data storage system and GPU based, we will be again missing the big shift. So this is again, this has been taken care. And for that one, we are considering public-private partnership, because that cannot be done by government alone. Along with this one, we are also taking care of the broadband spectrum. That's one of the key challenge. That's basically the access and the speed. Now, the second one, that's the technological part. The second part is basically the risk capital. And in the risk capital, we are talking about the venture capital. You can see in the URAAN Pakistan, we would like to have unicorns. Unfortunately, again, harsh reality in Pakistan, you can see startups, and then after a certain time, there is always a death. So we have realized that what are the missing links? We have the representative of the State Bank in Pakistan. There are 2 key challenges. One of the major key challenge is the international transaction. So that unless and until we take this international payment system aligned with either PayPal or Stripe or whatever it is, I mean, there will be issues. That's one of the key challenge. And the second one basically is this repatriation issue. You can bring in money, but sending money is hell of the task. So that these are the 2 key challenges regarding this risk capital. The second one basically is the entrepreneurial system. Now, for the entrepreneurial journey, there must be a very straightforward exit strategy. You make a story, you build a story, and unless and until there is an exit strategy, I mean, there is certainly a death. So the 2 challenges for the exit strategies, one is basically merger and acquisition. So unless and until, and that has again been taken care, so unless and until there is merger and acquisition supported by the State Bank, I mean, nothing will happen. And then basically along with this one, The key challenge is the IPO, the initial public offering. I think the most difficult and the complex phenomena in the world is our Pakistan IPO system. If you have a startup and if you want to go for the public offering IPO, that makes really life miserable. So that's basically the risk capital and the entrepreneurial system. The third and the most important one is then it comes to the academic world. Because if you have a well robust structure, if you have all the financial transactions and all the global system, but if you lack the technical HR, nothing can be done. So what we have done and what we are doing, the government has initiated 4 National Center of Excellence, and that was basically to have trained HR for this shift. One is National Center of AI, one is the National Center of Cybersecurity, one is the National Center of Big Data, and one is the National Center for AI. So these are the 4 centers which has been developed. We have now added the quantum technology as well, so that's basically the 4th one, the 5th one. So, and let me share the targets. We currently are having like 75,000 per annum IT graduates. In the URAAN Pakistan, we have realized that this is basically not aligned with our vision. So we are increasing this to 2 lakh per year. And the last but not the least, it's not only the number of graduates, it's basically the quality. Because if these graduates are not aligned and equipped with the private sector demand and with the global standards, we will say, again, the numbers, but nothing will happen. So I can say and summarize that all of the components of the ecosystem have been taken care, and that's under the URAAN Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Najib. Very pertinent points once again. Data collection and governance. I personally, while being at the Planning Commission, I'm witness to it. Getting hold of data is extremely difficult, even for research at the Planning Commission. Public-private partnerships, broadband spectrum, a couple of very important points in the startup system pertaining to IPOs and how hairy the process can be in M&A space, as well as for the international payment system. I've heard this point many times from people in the startup space. So moving on to the State Bank of Pakistan, Saleem Saab, seems like a lot of burden has been placed on you. I'll just mention the question here, but I think a lot of things have come out in the discussion. A couple of things from Najib, and Ms. Fatma also mentioned about the importance of financial inclusion. So just taking cue from there, I guess the question becomes that how can Pakistan mainstream its digital inclusion for the next 10 years when it comes to its human capital and labor strategy. And also I would request if we could talk about the digital divide and try to address some of the points raised here by the panelists.
Thank you, Asim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's very, very interesting discussion we have been having. So the key issues that we have been discussing here, that how can we capitalize on the opportunity that we are having based on the digital transformation going on across the globe. And we really are living in a digital era. And the next 10 years or 15 years, it is an era where we would witness, we are already witnessing, and we would be witnessing a more rapid pace digital transformation. And we must see that how can we tap this opportunity, and if we don't tap this opportunity, this is going to become a huge challenge for us. Particularly the countries like ours is having that huge challenge. So the 2 or 3 areas that have been discussed. One area that I would like to emphasize the most is that the kind of education system that we have been having. This education system needs to be reformed completely. Our education system is producing let me say this in slang words, the clerks. So we must have an education system that is producing the quality and the skill mix that is needed for our economy. And there is a huge focus that is needed on producing such graduates from our colleges, from our universities, that are having skill mix which are compatible with our digital needs and with the needs of the current era, rather than just producing the non-skilled, unskilled workforce that not having the technical skills or the vocational skills or the IT skills and the digital skills that are needed. And second most important thing that has also been highlighted is the kind of digital infrastructure that we are having. We must invest very generously in our digital infrastructure. With 1% fiber optic penetration, we cannot see that we would be able to tap the opportunities that are available in that world. Thirdly, we must see that how can we include our people? How can we leverage the digital platforms and the digital technologies to improve the lives of our people? The point that was highlighted by Fatma with respect to the digital divide. Still, despite having, I think, pretty remarkable achievement with respect to the financial inclusion in the last 10 years, we increased our bank accounts penetration from 16% in 2016 to 64% at the moment. But still, 53% of our female don't have any bank account. Be it the Jazz Cash or Easy Paisa or the branchless banking account or be a normal banking account. 53% of the population, women, female population not having the bank accounts. So I'm not saying that this is not the responsibility of others. It is a collective responsibility and one of the prime responsibility of the State Bank of Pakistan as well, that we must take initiatives that should be able to bridge that gender gap, both in terms of financial inclusion as well as the digital divide. And there are cultural roadblocks to it as well. Still, despite having a significant journey in this respect, still there are cultural roadblocks. And through those intensive efforts and awareness campaigns and advocacy, we need to bridge that gender gap so that more and more people could be enabled to use these digital platforms and these digital services. One thing that I would like to highlight is it is the public service delivery. How can we facilitate our people by shifting to e-government models, while we are taking initiatives so that the payment system is available, a ubiquitous payment system is ensured in the country, and we have that RAS that is enabling us to reach out to the more and more people. But at the government level, all the services that are being delivered, what are our plans to digitize those services so that the people should be benefited from those developments in the digital platform? One initiative that we took as far as the government collections and the payments are concerned, we took that initiative way back in 2018. And the initiative was that let's digitize the government tax collections. And today, by the grace of Almighty, 90% of the FBR collections are being made through the digital platforms. And through the introduction of RAS last year, a few years back, we have brought all the federal government payments to the digital platform. And similarly, within this year, we will be bringing all the provincial government payments to the digital platforms. So what is needed is that a collaborative approach. We have been taking initiatives in isolations. Luckily, this URAAN Pakistan is one platform, one document that is giving us sort of a cohesive approach that we could have that collaborative effort. Each and every member, be in the public sector or in the private sector, should be able to play its respective role, so that a collective approach and a mechanism should be available with respect to using and capitalizing on the opportunity that is available to us. We could build on for this.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Saleem Saab. And I think a lot of important and pertinent points have been highlighted here. And if I look at the discussion till now, and I just compare it to URAAN Pakistan's e-Pakistan, it's happy to note that it's a validation of the framework in itself, because under e-Pakistan, it has these subcategories, and it talks about working on the digital infrastructure and improving coverage. It talks of developing the startup space. It talks about IT and training skills. It talks of the AI framework, which we really haven't really talked about. It talks about it, the e-Pakistan. It talks about cybersecurity. It talks about reorienting science and technology, engineering, and academia and industry. So I think, generally speaking, from the panelist discussion, I think this is a validation of e-Pakistan and the overall concept of URAAN Pakistan, that it truly is in the right direction. But obviously, it will need a lot of good execution to get us to where we want to be. Now, panelists have heard what everyone had to say, and I will probe a question or two. But I think in round two, it's more of each panelist's thoughts based on what each one has heard and whatever they want to say. I just want to kick off discussion two by referring to a book that I read called Nexus recently by Noah Harari, and it's about information in the AI space and age. And when I think of that book and what I've heard from the panelists here, there's one major risk which comes to my mind, and I'm not an IT guy by any means. And one of the themes in that book was that AI is just going to do everything, and it's going to take away a human element from what we have right now. So, for example, the softwares that we make today will be made by AI. So then the question becomes that we have 75,000 students coming out. We want in the next 5 years 200,000 students coming out. Are we investing in the right area? Maybe we need to invest in people who actually make those algorithms, which are going to be thinking just by themselves when you just unleash them. Are we actually investing in the right area? To me, this is a huge risk, especially what recently we saw what DeepSeek did to NVIDIA and some of the Mag 7s and their valuations. AI will be doing a lot of stuff that some of our graduates are doing right now. With this thought in the backdrop, I'll start again with my namesake, Asim. What you have heard the policymakers. Are the policymakers in the right direction? You are our clients, the private sector. So this is also an opportunity for you to tell them what they need to do. So what policy reforms do policymakers need to focus on in the next 12 months, and perhaps some of the risks that you can also touch upon?
Yeah, I think, so AI is actually my field, so I'm closely reading what different people are saying about it. And yes, AI has surprised many, including likes of Google. The traction that ChatGPT initially got, no one was expecting that it will be so. As the founder himself, or the OpenAI founder himself said, that it's deceptively good. And then when DeepSeek came out, it kind of like stumped everyone. There was a thought process, the more GPU you have, you will have better AI, and then DeepSeek kind of like challenged everything. So yes, AI means that we can continue with the policies we have in 2024. So that's true. And there will be course correction. So for example, in one of the top universities in Pakistan, I was trying to see merit list of different programs for the last year, and the computer science was like somewhere 300, software engineering 500, AI 800, and electrical engineering was around 1900. Mechanical was even lower than that. So I think that will correct. People will realize that CS is not the only way forward. We need to be very good with electrical, mechanical, and all other engineering disciplines. So the HEC will need to will not be in a kind of like a situation where everything is gone. It's just that some other fields will again get better traction. So I think one advice that just don't bank on CS. We need more well-rounded engineering forces, mechanical, electrical, and CS, and other disciplines as well. And yes, AI will automate a lot of jobs. Right now, just for the clarity, I am one of those people who don't consider a doom scenario right now. Of course, there are divide. There are some people like Elon Musk who thinks that it's a doom scenario. I think the AI is not that good. It is deceptively good. It is not that good. At the end of the day, it's just predicting the next word, and so many of things need, even if you will ask it to do deep research, if you are not an expert, you will not be able to find many errors it has, and if that's a danger if you will just keep sharing it as it. So I think there is still there's a room, but of course that's a moving target. AI will improve and so on and on. Second thing, there's this thesis that earlier software development or AI or all these things were expensive. Let's say if it was the cost of doing it was $100. This means a lot less businesses, individuals, companies, governments were able to afford it. Now with this, it will just become more affordable, which means there will be a lot more work. So if the total number of people will remain the same because the demand will just hugely go up. Like this earlier things that only companies like Nestle or ICI or others could do. Now even the smaller companies have this chance of doing it because of affordability that comes with AI-driven, AI-augmented development. So I think in 4 or 5 years, things will not that much change. But with AI, you can't predict anything. Something like DeepSeek can completely change. That type of moment can change it. So I think we don't need to drastically change the policies. But here's what my belief is, that let's say we need to keep this goal in mind, that the goal is to be a $3 trillion economy by a certain date. Work backwards, that okay, in 5 years, 10 years, where will we be in terms of different sectors, in terms of different, let's say, vertical and horizontal things, and then keep coming back, okay, what will happen in year 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and what are the hurdles and the policies we need to do from going from year 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, and those type of working back. This is not my idea. This is something that Amazon and many other companies do. They have something that they set target on, and then they work backward. Like what are the minimal set of things we do? Of course, we have other political, not in a negative sense, but in a positive, there are political challenges. We can't do things which will only benefit people in Islamabad or Karachi. We need to come up with things which are beneficial for the whole country. We need to be inclusive. But let's say if there is a $3 trillion economy target, what are those 3 or 4 things that can help us achieve it? So in my opinion, if that means having less people work and using more and more AI, then do it. The wealth that will come, we can still use it and repurpose it for others. But if we want to kind of like muddle this goal of creating more wealth for a country and also creating a lot more jobs, we may not end up at a good shot.
Sure. Thank you, Asim. Ms. Fatma, from your perspective, what do the policymakers need to do to help facilitate the private sector?
I'll just begin with a quick point on AI. So what we really believe internally within our organization is that it's not AI that's really going to replace us, it's a person using AI will. So the shift that we kind of have within our sort of realm is that we look at it not as artificial, rather augmented intelligence. So this is a tool which can enhance your capability and your productivity. And that is, I think, when approached with this mindset, I don't think there's anything to be sort of fearful about. Rather, I think it is something which can really sort of be an advantage to you, whether as a company or as a country. I just want to point out that I have had the privilege of working in the public affairs space for a while, and what I have seen over the past few years is that there is a shift that has happened at the policy sort of makers' end, where they are more receptive and they are more willing to learn. You see, a lot of what has happened has also been a deficit at the private sector end, that how much of education have we done of the public sector to sort of really walk them through what our day-to-day challenges are. And that coming together, I would say that is happening very well currently as we speak. So if I have also had the opportunity of working with Babar. We launched a local large language model initiative where I've partnered with him. We as JAS have partnered with NITB. I've had the opportunity of working with Dr. Najibullah. We're on the same AI task force. Mr. Saleem Ullah at the State Bank, he is a big advocate of digital and financial inclusion. He's one of the key champions that we have over there. And I would say that if I just speak about this panel, I do not say that there is anything lacking when it comes to them being receptive of what needs to be done. But what does need to be done is collectively we need to work sort of more meaningfully. We as private sector should not always treat the government as these are our problem areas and you have to solve them. Yes, that an enabling regulatory business environment is key for private sector to thrive. But beyond that also, I think if we align, as Asim said, that if this is what our goal is and we identify that this is a collective responsibility, I don't think there is anything stopping us. So really from more sort of a critique or confrontation, we should really work towards more collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Babar Sahab, your thoughts, having heard everyone here, and also I think from your earlier discussion, if you could just maybe identify one or two key areas for the enabling environment to be corrected for us.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I totally agree with Fatima and Asim. Number one, automation is the key. So AI is the vehicle. Number two, we need to rethink everything. I mean, it's not like AI is going to take jobs. It is AI is going to enable. Example, we're working on one policy note with Dr. Sab here, and that is when a business comes to registration in Pakistan, it doesn't take them days or weeks, it takes them months. So this is where we need to rethink the process and the efficiencies and use the AI to transform the efficiencies. That's the enablement part. Now, in order to make it happen, what we are doing here as under the URAAN concept as well, and at National Information Technology Board, is the digitalization strategy of Pakistan that we formulated comprise 3 pillars. The first one is digital society. So the benefit of the digitalization in transforming the society, the lives of the people. And it's not only, very rightly said, not only people in Islamabad and the capital cities, but people in the outreach areas as well. And yes, one of the areas that needs to be addressed is infrastructure, because we've just done one citizen services initial deployment in Gilgit-Baltistan, and we are actually facing some infrastructure issues there in order to make it happen, outreach to the people. The second pillar is digital economy. Because one of the problems that, again, the underlying thing, if you look at our economy, is a big leakage because it's a cash-based economy. Whatever money and amount you put in it, there's leakage, and it's a cash-based economy. So through digital economy, we do the cashless economy. That's one of the initiatives that we're working. And then the third pillar actually is when we want the society to be digitalized, when we want the economy digitalized, then the government itself needs to be digitalized as well. That is the digital governance. And I'll give you an example of that one as well, like the e-office initiative to have paperless environment in federal government. So all of the federal ministries are using it now. And one intervention we just did in the past 4 months, and it brought a huge impact, was the decision making in the government happens through an artifact which is called summary, which is moved from the ministry to, the process. And the average processing time of this was 22 working days. And when we have digitalized it to 100% degree, and now we've got the directives from the Prime Minister that the summaries will only be accepted in the digital form, and we've implemented it and adopted it, now that average time has come down from 22 to 3 days. So that's how the efficiency of the government is improving as well. So the message at the end of the day is, number one, automation. Number two, a clear direction that we are heading it to. And number three is we need to rethink as very well said by Dr. Saab as well, the policies, the enabling environment, the whole of government approach, the data governance thing, it can't happen without those things. So those policies need to be done. AI regulation, don't worry. The whole world is grappling with this because it moves very fast as compared to how it is planned. But we must be in the right direction, and I'm very confident under this URAAN Pakistan initiative, we are headed in the right direction. So good luck.
No, thank you, Barbara. That's very kind of you. Ms. Emma, your final thoughts.
Thank you. Your question is excellent. I think in the real world, especially in a context like Pakistan, everything is linked to anything else. Where do we start? So the question is, what are the policy objectives and what are the policy instruments? We need to have some careful thinking about that. And where should we intervene? Where should we leave it to really to the market forces? So in this regard, I have 4 suggestions.
Sure.
One is, as I mentioned, the kind of backbone infrastructure, and that huge gap cannot be filled automatically. So we must identify specific gaps and invest on that. The second one is, I would advocate for deregulation, not regulating. In Pakistan, when we look at the success in the telecom sectors, in the banking sectors, it's because of a deregulation, not because of we regulating. Of course, certain minimum level of regulation is required, but the common understanding is the regulation is overly burdensome, outdated, intertwining, conflicting. I think let's look at that. That is definitely an instrument that we need to look at. The third one, people talked about big sandboxes. I think some panelists talked about, and special economic zones. A narrow understanding of special economic zone is just an enclave, a little area. But the economic zone is actually a laboratory. You experiment something good, then you expand to the rest of the country. At least that's how China did it. From some cities, it then expanded almost to the whole country. And how can we find maybe 5 cities, for example, as digital hubs, and give more, lighter-handed regulation, let the entrepreneurship show us what we can do. Finally, I think digital is not operating in a vacuum. It's when we think about 40% of the children are out of school, a large number of children are not receiving quality education even at school, we can't be talking about modernization. I think the education system needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Very pertinent, once again, points. Najib, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think regarding the AI policy, we are almost there. The Planning Commission has constituted a task force, and we are having discussion with the stakeholders. So we are trying to fill the gap and the missing parts. So that's regarding the AI. I think one of the questions was, after AI, how about human-centric thing? So let me tell you the latest updates. The 4th industrial revolution was called Industry 4.0, but very recently, almost like a couple of months ago, it has been changed, and the nomenclature is Industry 5.0, which means basically the Industry 4.0 means everything automated. I mean robotics, IoT, AI, and all of those things. And then it was realized that no, unless and until human-centric things are there, it can't work. So the question is, and the question will be, that this human should be well advanced, more equipped than the AI. So the knowledge paradigm and all things will be shifted and more advanced. So yes, we need a big shift in the academic standards. Regarding the policy, I think it's not only policy making. Since last 77 years, we have already made policies. I think the most important thing is the policy implementation and the action plan. So two things are very important for the policy implementation. A part is the political stability. Because if it is not very stable, there is always this change and nothing happens. That's what we have seen and witnessed. And though if it is stable, the most important thing is the government ownership. So at least we can see that under URAAN Pakistan, there are 5 priorities, well-defined, well-structured, very holistic approach. So I'm very optimistic, and after the Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I think there is this shift as well, so that we will be aligned with the 4th and the 5th industrial revolution.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Gee, Saleem Saab.
So then, just to build upon what Dr. Najib said, that it is the development of the human capital and the human skills that would enable us to better use the AI. There will be ample HR that would be spared due to the availability of that AI. We would be able to do many things that the humans are currently doing, but then the focus should be that how can we better utilize the time that has been spared with the usage of AI so that we can better utilize the AI facilities to have the facilities and the processes and the mechanisms that could enable us to use that development for the service of the mankind. So let me reiterate some of the initiatives that we have been taking with respect to the digital economy. So the development of a very robust and ubiquitous digital ecosystem and a digital payment ecosystem is the strategic objective of the central bank. And we have been working extensively to have that system implemented in the country. And the goal is that each and every member and citizen of the country should be able to have access to all these digital platforms. So, let me give you a few statistics that right now about 60 million people are using the mobile wallets, and these mobile wallets are being used for the purpose of making all those bill payments and the digital payments and all these things. There are more than 13 million users of the banking apps that they are using. So our goal is that we should be able to have that digital payment ecosystem that should enable the people to make all these payments and all these transactions should be settled digitally. One area that is very, very critical and that would enable us to have big synergies and dividends is the reduction in the CIC. The currency in circulation, right now it is more than 9.5, 9.6 trillion rupees. And we aim that in the next 5 years, if we can bring this currency in circulation down by 25%, that would bring a liquidity of about 2 to 2.5 trillion rupees in the banking system. And that would help us a lot in improving the overall penetration of the financial system. Second aspect that I would like to highlight is the extensive focus on the financial inclusion. And this digital platforms and the digital technology that is available, that is enabling us to reach out to more and more people. How we have been able to reach to increase the bank accounts penetration from 16% to 64% in 10 years, it is based on the technology. And we are very confident that in the next 5 years, that penetration level will be 75%, and the digital platforms will be providing us the major impetus and the major will be the major instrument that would be enabling us to reach out to these large number of people. Lastly, we have been focusing extensively on improving the financial literacy, and that is critically important to bridge that gender gap, as well as to bridge the digital divide. Yesterday we started the Financial Literacy Week that is being held countrywide, and it will be completed on 18th of April. It's a week that we are celebrating, and the key focus is that how can we reach particularly to the women which are largely out of the financial system, and how can we remove those cultural barriers and the cultural taboos that are still restricting the women to be part of the economic system and the financial system. Thank you.
Thank you, Saleem Saab. I think once again very pertinent points have been raised by you. I would like to now open the session to the public and to this room, and let's try to have some equality here. So one question from a gentleman and one from the lady. So yourself.
Thank you. I'm Nasser from ADB and government background also. But I just, everybody mentioned implementation, execution. You mentioned execution. I think that's the key. And from a 5E's perspective, there has to be an operational mechanism. How do you operationalize it in order to have a productive economy? This has to go into the sectors. So my question is to all of the panelists, and it can be a one-liner response. If you had $300 million to spend over the next 300 to 400 years, with the money coming to you next year, what project would you like to do as a project manager?
So who would like to take it? Asim? Yes. Okay.
I think if there's one area where we are uniquely positioned to do or excel is probably Islamic finance. So that is something that we have a good population size to test it and then export it to the whole Islamic world.
Great. Any other panelists who would like to respond to the gentleman? Yourself, Najib.
I think I will say that rather than one component, it should be all the parts to be aligned, because as I mentioned, that if you strengthen one part and miss the other one, if I don't have the HR, if I don't have the financial transaction, if I have the technical, but if there is the priority, I think we should move on toward the broad spectrum of the what is called the digital economy. That's basically the Industry 4.0. The e-commerce, the precision agriculture, and for that we need AI storage system. So I think that should be the priority. The cloud computing and IoT system. So these three are the core priorities of the government.
Thank you. This is Mehtab. I work for the news. Sir, my question is very fundamental. Do we want Pakistan to move as a security state or as a state digitally enabling environment for the whole country? As there is a internet shutdown and Twitter is banned in Pakistan, so do you think that we are moving for digital Pakistan and we are talking appropriately to discuss and providing an enabling environment for the whole country? Thank you.
Well, I think, in a country like Pakistan, one should be very realistic. If you have all open things, you know the reality. So from the government point of view, whether we say half glass empty or half glass full, I think we have done a lot in the digital economy. The last 2 years increase regarding the digital economy and the export and the export particularly, I think we have done a tremendous work. But if I even compare this with the global, we are basically, we lag behind. So there is this question. In a country like we have actually out of school children, in a country where there are security and threats, in a country where there is basically this shutdown of the internet, in a country where there is basically this access and the speed issue. So this is one part, but on the other part, when we see, let me share the figures. China, in the recent past, I went to China. The China digital economy is contributing 46% to the GDP. So if we miss, and as I mentioned, we have missed 3 industrial revolutions. This industrial revolution doesn't need that huge infrastructure, like, that huge real infrastructure. So I think that's one of the opportunity, and then we must consider.
The gentleman's question, if the mic can be passed on to the gentleman in the front row, please.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Parvez Iftikhar. I'm an ICT professional. Question to the 2 representatives from the government. we're talking of enabling policies, which everybody wants to have for digital Pakistan. URAAN Pakistan is also a wonderful initiative. But we are not talking of what's the opposite of enabling? Disenabling policies. Fatma mentioned this access, for example. The most heavily taxed is access, digital access in Pakistan. 34.5% goes to the government when you easy load 1,000 rupees, 350 rupees go. Similarly, I mean, one taxes things in order to discourage people. For example, you want to discourage people from smoking, you put heavy taxes on cigarettes. But why do we encourage or discourage access? Right. And how can we do anything on a mass scale on digital to transform digitally when we are taxing access? Right. Smartphone penetration, we are one of the lowest smartphone penetration in the world. A smartphone worth $200 used to be taxed rupees 20 in Pakistan, locally produced. Since 1st July 24, it is taxed at 18% flat. So we are making an entry barrier, raising an entry barrier here. So what about such policies? I mean, we have to do something about it.
Right, sir. So who would like to, maybe Saleem Saab, you can try to respond to the gentleman.
So I fully agree that the taxation system should not target the sectors like the IT and the digital sector for the purpose of revenue collection. Rather, in my personal opinion, this should be the sector that needs to be facilitated so that the taxes and the revenues could be generated from the externalities that would be from the business growth that would be generated. So if you can take my own words, I probably Dr. Anjeev would like to add on it, but my personal view is that we must facilitate through enabling, rather encouraging taxation policies with respect to the areas which we want to promote. Yeah. So it should not be the one that is an easy scapegoat available and just have the revenue available. But obviously the ground reality is that we have been struggling with respect to development of a progressive taxation system. So I hope and let's pray that we should be able to have such system.
Sir, I'll just make a small comment to your question. I was watching Bloomberg regarding, the Trump tariffs, and one of the tariff experts on the channel mentioned that tariffs are detrimental, but probably more detrimental is that once they're implemented and enforced, it's very difficult at times for them to come off. And that struck a chord with me because when I was at the Planning Commission, the gentleman to your right, he started an initiative. This is Nadeem Javed Saab. He started an initiative, and I was a part of it. We made an honest effort to actually review all the policies of the government. It's a Herculean task. The issue, what happens is that we are good at creating policies. We are poor at implementing policies, and we are terrible at reviewing policies. Okay. So our policies, they are set in time and they don't move with the times. So to your point, not only on taxation, but generally on policies, that point is taken, and I hope, and I'll encourage Nadeem Saab to also look into this now. He is back in the government to look at this area and perhaps some progress can be made there. Thank you. Sir, your question.
Right, my name is Amar Jaffrey. I think 90% people sitting in the hall know me very well, so I won't introduce myself. My question to the government, because right now everybody is sitting here, I claim to be founder of E-Pakistan. In this hall, Previous Sahib, you are sitting here. In this hall, he was head of USF at that time. We took the broadband to Mera Bagwal. Broadband to Mera. In 2009. The newspapers, the media channels, neighboring country, they had the news that Pakistan has taken broadband to a village. So from where we started. There is an interesting situation in government of Pakistan. I served as additional Director General FIA, and everybody knows me. The cyber crimes wing, the airport system, your Nadra, everything, I had a pioneering role into that. I am feeling very happy today that government of Pakistan is sitting here, private sector is sitting here, Jazz is sitting here, and we are on a road to success. I repeat the same question which the minister raised. Whatever follies, whatever mistakes we did in the past, forget about it. Start your day today. Look at the future, and trust you me, we have a very bright future. Najib Saab, I'll come to you, and I'll talk about Society 5.0. There's a Japanese initiative, and you'll have to support me, Najib. You'll have to support me, right? Otherwise, I'll go on the road, right? Because AI, IoT, blockchain, metaverse, whatever we are talking about, all is we are doing it for Pakistan, right? So I'll come to you. The day and time you will give it to me, and you will support me. Thank you,
thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you so much for such insightful discussion. When we are talking about the pillars, you talk about there are three important pillars for enabling the URAAN: government, industry, and academia. And if we really look into the situation, the three pillars are working in a three different directions. And the academia especially, I think this is the most ignored sector. So how can we bring a liaison between all of them, all of these three? And secondly, I was feeling that how can we overcome all these hurdles altogether when there is no liaison among these three pillars?
Okay, thank you very much. My question is specifically from Ms. Emma, and it is related to sharing her experience or ADB's experience, particularly in the space of aligning the digital infrastructure. I mean, this is one fundamental or backbone problem that we have been struggling with in the past. And so how would you enlighten us based on ADB's experience that how can different actors or stakeholders within the same economy, like for example the government as well as the private sector, can collaborate or join hands in order to address the availability of the right digital infrastructure? Thank you.
Ms. Emma.
Should I respond?
Sure,
Thank you. It's a really excellent question. You know, coordination costs are huge. Even when we have three people, we probably cannot coordinate a concerted effort. That is why where to coordinate, where to let the individual entrepreneurs, the private sector exercise its strengths is important. Oftentimes, I mean, the prescription come to very standard infrastructure, good regulations, education systems, public goods for the government, and the rest, do less, not do more. So if the government wants to coordinate and so on, we know we experimented that in so many places. We cannot, because the coordination cost would be stifling. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, maybe someone can try to answer.
I can answer the question on the pillars part. I'll just give you two examples of how we are making it happen. We need to do initiatives, projects, which involve and engage all the three pillars. So for example, one of the initiatives that we are doing is creation of the LLM, the first LLM in Pakistan, together National Information Technology Board from the government side, JAS from the private side, and NUST from the academic side, and we are co-creating it. This is one example. The second example, it's a little early to talk about it, but we're working with PIDE, Dr. Nadeem Saab and his team, and we're creating the first industry consulting school, which does not exist in Pakistan, because we need consultants who would work with the government and the industry, and they need to be stemmed out from mature institutions like PIDE, who are economists, and they need to be equipped with the industry consulting skills. So we're already working on that. So these are the example initiatives that need to be there to get them engaged.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. I'm from Digital Pakistan. My question is that I want to know what are the set KPI that you have made to know the success of this program. so that how we can understand that this program is functioning and this program is working to the like level that they are working for. So please.
Good evening and Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Muniba Iftikhar and I am from Mass Communication Department, Lahore College for Women University, Lahore. My PhD is in climate communication and nowadays the focus is towards the climate. When we put our generation to focus on a single thing, then another notion comes up. When we were youngsters, when we were students, there was a notion of the industrial economy, that we will progress unless and until we have industrial economy. Then it comes up with the creative economy, gig economy, and now in the sector of climate communication, we are now focusing on the circular economy. And then eventually, everything is now clubbed with the digital economy. I've been into the inaugural session and we were talking about the URAAN Pakistan, which is really, really very great initiative by the government. But as a behavior scientist, I believe that we cannot achieve any objective unless and until we have taken the public on board. We have 65% youngsters who are still confused that which economy is better for us. So to all the panelists, mashallah, they all are so great and learned people. I just want you people that what the mechanism you have developed for to take the youngsters on board, because whatever it's URAAN can never become possible unless and until the youth is on board with you. So I need from all of you that what would be the mechanism for the academicians like us who are the guides of these youngsters, and obviously everything is meant for the betterment of Pakistan. Thank you so much.
Just a quick question. My name is Yasser. I'm a researcher. In UAE, there is a web application called Bashar, and it integrates around 60 federal and local government bodies, and you can actually start your business within 15 minutes in UAE. Can we actually implement that sort of project, replicate at least? Do we have that potential in terms of, do we have that, the departments, are they interested to collaborate with each other when we replicate that? Bashar?
Good, thanks. Maybe, Babar Sahab, you can take this last one, and then Najib, you can take the other two, please.
The answer to this question is, Board of Investment, we're working and supporting with the Board of Investment and National Information Technology Board and Ministry of IT. And we are actually working on the same thing. If you recall, I gave the exact same example. One of the problems we see is when businesses come here and they want to register, there's a big time lag. So under the hood of SIFC, Ministry of IT has already started an initiative. It is part of the DEEP project as well, Digital Economy Enhancement Project. And this component falls under the scope of Board of Investment, and we are all enabling and supporting them achieving this. So that is exactly what we want to do to create an enabling environment.
Najib sir?
First one was regarding these KPIs. So in the URAAN Pakistan document, there are all set KPIs regarding all the 5 components of the innovation ecosystem. Say regarding the venture capital, it's not only the KPIs, the same have been reflected in the PSDP project as well. Say like we have a 3 billion approved a few days ago. That's the first ever venture capital fund by the government. That was never there. So in the same way, we have to train 5 lakh per year for the freelancing. So these are basically the KPIs for the training. But there are 5 pillars, by the way, and then there are set KPIs. And let me tell you, these are not only the KPIs and the targets, along with it, there is an action plan as well. As mentioned several times, these are not there, should not be only these KPIs, there should be the action plan. Regarding the engagement, there are all stakeholders. So we have basically as mentioned by how we can bridge the academia and industry. Again, 5 days ago, the project has been approved. This is with the name Industry Academia Bridging. And in this one, there are 3 components. One is basically, rather than to train students again and again, why not to train the faculty members? Because if we train the faculty members according to the new standards, the industrial requirement, that will be a very sustainable model. The second thing is, why not to introduce case studies as it is abroad? Say if you are a PhD student or the MS student, why not to conduct studies according to the industry requirement rather than to do global things, or For this, we have a program called Science, Technology and Engineering for Development called STED. So we have basically 2 days consultative meeting on STED on 17 and 18. It is first in the federal, and then we are going to all provinces.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Najib, I think there is also an initiative by the name of Champions of Reform, whereby whoever wishes to engage in reform and help, people can do it. And if you are interested, you can reach out. It's part of URAAN Pakistan if you go through it, and it's there. And if you want to help out, the Ministry of Planning will welcome you.
Last thing, just to answer example of how public is being taken on board under URAAN Pakistan, and in compliance with that, Ministry of IT and Telecom has just announced 300,000 trainings, which are the technical digitalization, AI and cybersecurity training for the general public, and anyone can enroll that, and it's sponsored.
Thank you. I think with this we have come to the end of this discussion. I want to thank all my panelists, extremely fruitful. I personally enjoyed it, and I hope everyone in the room enjoyed it as well. Thank you.